Up next in the studio with me is no stranger to the Naarm dance music scene. A selector specialising but not bound to the darker shades of electronic music, with raw and unrelenting soundscapes being at the forefront of her sound. A renowned party thrower with a desire to bring connection, support and diversity to all involved. Her passion shines through in all that she does, from productions to parties, her presence online, and her strict rule with all of this, through everything with kindness. Coming fairly fresh from a recent run of shows in Europe, I'm very lucky to be sitting down with the one and only WISER.
Hi, that was a really sweet write-up. Thank you.
Thanks. It was fun writing it. It was quite easy because you've got so much going on and you're very experienced in the scene.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. I've been having my eye on you for a while because I've started with your posters. Just the little graphic with the club elevator. I was like, what is this? Is this a club? I'm going to go to this club. And I was like, oh, damn, it's a podcast. I was like, oh, wait, it's a podcast. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's interesting you say that because it was definitely two people that I can remember have approached me in separate green rooms and said that I need to get you on the podcast. So I was like, okay, and then well, I'm glad we were able to make it work. So very excited. So
me too.
I usually start the chat with how we met. We met just, how long ago was that? I mean, probably close to almost an hour with our tech difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? So it's actually the tech difficulties were kind of a bonding experience.
Very much so.
Yeah, which has been nice. But yeah, we've been liaising via voice memo, which is also nice. I was like, wonder what she sounds like, and then we started the voice memo chat, and I was like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, cool, this is what you'll be getting on the day. Bit of a warm-up session over the last couple months.
It was good. But yeah, so thrilled to have you with us, and I guess as we spoke about, we usually start the show, and I think it's really important to give the listeners a bit of context on where it all started for you. So a young WISER, where did all that start in terms of the music and where your love grew for it?
Yeah, well, it's a funny one. There's two parts to it, I guess. I mean, I've always loved music growing up, but I guess that's what everyone says in their bios, like classically trained from the age of 3, like not really like that. But I used to play a bit of keyboard growing up as a kid, and I always remember having my keyboard had 3 memory sections, so I could overlay a beat and then play keys and then play some weird stuff over the top of it.
Yeah.
And I always remember thinking, man, I wish I had this more had more layers. And when I ended up producing and I was in Ableton, I was like, oh, there's endless layers I can add. So I remember doing that quite young. Never thought I'd do anything with it though. I used to play drums a little bit in a few punk bands when I was like 15. And then didn't really think much of music as a career, but obviously it stayed something that was very important to me. I grew up listening to a lot of punk music, really into 80s hardcore, like Black Flag and Suicidal Tendencies and that kind of thing. My parents listened to ABBA and Leonard Cohen and more 80s stuff like The Cure, which I really liked as well. Madonna. You've seen The Cure?
Yes.
Was Robert Smith's hair crazy?
I can't actually remember. I was at Splendor and I was pretty young.
True.
But yeah, they played a 3-hour set.
Epic.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I know, yeah.
Very lucky.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
digress.
It's fine. No, I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
So grew up with punk music, and then I used to, when I was 15 or 16, I used to help out with some hardcore bands at the local PCYC, where I lived in Perth at the time. And it started out, I used to just go to the hardcore shows every weekend. And then I just naturally was like, who's running this and how is it run and how can I get involved? And I just wanted to be involved further than going. So I found out who'd been organising it, and it was this lovely lady called Karis, and she was like, oh, you can come hang out in the office. And for some reason, as a 15-year-old, I decided I just wanted to go on my weekends when everyone was going to the shops or whatever. I was just like this 15-year-old punk who just wanted to go sit in the office of the lady who was organising the hardcore shows. And I used to just go hang out with her and we would chat about things. And slowly she started to show me how things were done. And then I was helping out with ticketing. Then I was helping out with paying the bands. And then got to the point where after year 12, my mum and my stepdad, they were like, look, we're moving to Melbourne. So I didn't even get to do schoolies, nothing. They were like, you're just going to get dropped into Melbourne as like a fresh 18-year-old. You're not going to know anyone. Wow. I was like, okay. And the only thing that I knew was going to hardcore shows. And so the last show that we had was one that I got to organise. So we ended up getting funding, a local grant, and it was like Steph's farewell show, and it was like miles away and like some pretty big hardcore names back in the day. And yeah, I was able to like help organise this show, and I never really thought much of it until it comes forward to now, and I'm organising parties and curating lineups. And I was like, man, I can't believe I was doing that when I was like 16 or 17, like in hardcore shows. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Like, ended up writing bios for bands and like kind of managing a few hardcore bands at the time as well. Yeah. Like, not for money, just because I loved it, but because I liked emailing record labels and contacting people for stuff. So that was a really big part of like my passion for music. And then when I was 18, I went to one hardcore show in Melbourne, and I just didn't want to be part of it anymore. I was just shocked, actually, because I think the difference, I don't know, it was new. I was in a new place. So I'd been going to the same shows for 2.5 years. Everyone knew who I was at the place where I used to help run them and stuff. And I got to Melbourne. They were all ages shows back then. So, you know, a couple of kids might be drunk or whatever, but there was just this raw, angsty teen energy. And it was real, like, it was just real pure. And then when I got, and like, I'm not straight edge or anything, but when I got to Melbourne, I went to an 18+ show. And it's just heaps of drunk dudes, super violent. Like, I didn't feel safe being in the mosh pit, didn't feel safe, like, being anywhere near where all the action was. And then I think because I knew some of the bands already from helping them out when I was back in Perth, like the girls that were all quite cliquey in the hardcore scene at the time, like all kind of like glaring at me being like, who's this chick? Why does she know everyone? And I was like, dude, like, this sucks. Yeah. I just like fell out of love with it like super quick. And then it took me a while to find my feet in what I think I still needed like raw energy from music. And that's how I got into dubstep and drum and bass in terms of my personal taste. So was really big into dubstep between 2008, like when it was really peaking. I used to just go to drum and bass parties. Used to be helping out with this club called Wobble. It was the Night Owl, which is now Sub Club. Some of my first clubbing experiences in Melbourne were in what is now a Sub Club 15 years ago. And it was all drum and bass, like huge sound systems. Like the whole wall was a sound system. It would just like rumble your whole body. And that was just the energy on like a drum and bass dance floor. Everyone's just wearing whatever they want. People are of all different ages. That's what really kind of showed me like what raving is and what partying can be. And I didn't know techno was even a thing. I just thought maybe it was like just really repetitive, boring. Like I'd never researched it. I actually didn't even listen to techno. And then went to my first festival in 2010. I went to Strawberry Fields. Nice. Like, I think it was the second ever one that they did. Sick. And I saw like Neelix and stuff, but it like flooded, like it rained so heavily. It was the craziest. Wow. So it was like this huge storm. Like they had to turn off everything. It was like, and because it was my first doof, I was like, is this what doofing's about? Everyone's tents were flooded. We had to like all get shelter in like this higher area, and it was also in the middle of like a mosquito plague. So it was the most chaotic, like no music, like there was that many mosquitoes. We were like, there was maybe 8 of us in a 4-person tent, and say the edges of the tent are white, it was darkened and you'd move and there was that many mosquitoes that you just see them all move. It was like, it was so wild. And it was just, that even made me think about like, back end logistics of stuff. Like they got the music back on, everyone was safe and happy, the party kept running after that storm, and I've always just been interested in like how, like who are the people doing this, like like how did any of that get back to normal? Like I can't just be in a dance floor and be like, cool music, man. I've got to be like, I wonder who made this, what noise is that, like, oh, who built that stage deeper. Like and I don't question it anymore because like I get to be part of doing all those things, but something that's always been with me is like how and why of everything. I got pretty into psytrance during that phase, and then I think it was like, how did I get there? I think I didn't want to be a DJ. Not that I never thought of it. It just wasn't a thing in my life. I was always drawing and writing. It was always going to be physical art that I was going to do. And I was working in retail. I didn't study anything out of uni. Working in retail and injured my right hand when I was like carrying some shelves. It's a whole thing. But I damaged my ECU tendon, and then it was misdiagnosed for 8 months. I kept using it, and basically my whole tendon was dislodged. Oh. And then I had wrist reconstruction, and they were like, yep, so you should be able to, do things again once it's all fixed. And I started getting movement back in my hand. The pain came back, and they were like, yeah, look, 1 in 5 surgeries, the pain will remain because the tendon's so damaged because you used it so much. So, so after that, I had to really reassess, what am I doing with my life? Like, I thought I was going to, maybe work in customer service or maybe youth work or something, helping people, or like, I like people. So I wanted to do something person facing. But on the side, I was always doing some kind of art. I was making jewelry. I was like, felt so creative. It was all like, using your right hand. So spent a bit of time really like, shit, what am I going to do? And then I was at a friend's house party. It ended up just being 6 of us, and I think it was like a ping pong table set up, and there was a controller, like a pretty big one, and there was a program playing. I think it was Serato, and I'd learned how to mix on vinyl when Wobble closed, the drum and bass club I was mentioning. We bought all the vinyls that we used to listen to in that club. He ended up selling his whole collection. So we were able to buy like 200, 300 vinyls that we've been listening to the whole like 6-7 years we've been going to this party. Wow. We then owned every vinyl from the club, and it was just like, it was the best. We had
nostalgia would have been crazy.
It was the best. So we bought turntables, my partner and I were just like always listening to drum and bass on vinyl, and then we're like, I should probably like learn how to mix it. Like, that'll be interesting. Bought an extra turntable, and then I think from drumming, you've got natural rhythm if you can drum. But the mix that we had was so shit. Like, it's like there's no tempo, there's nothing on it. So it's basically like, and there's no BPMs written on the vinyls. No. So you tap in like one noise with your left foot, you tap in the other noise with your right foot, and that's kind of like how I learned how to mix on vinyl. Was just like hearing a sound and then trying to match the sound and then changing the tempo that way. And that was like years before my wrist injury, and I didn't think I'd be a DJ. That was just for fun. Then when I digitally saw waveforms on a computer and had a controller in front of me, I just mixed one song into the other one, and a friend of mine was like, did you just mix those 2 songs together? And I was like, yeah. Why? Like, you just looking at them like they just go whoop, like there they are. It's like, do it again. I was like, all right. Whoop, like, there it is. And like, I think it was Pig and Dan, there was 2 Pig and Dan songs I mixed together, and I hadn't heard of Pig and Dan before. I barely listened to techno at the time, but the songs, like, it was hard, it was good, it was chunky, and I was like, wait, maybe I like this music, like my tastes are changing. And so I thought I should get myself something that I could use with my wrist injury, and went home, tried to play vinyl, and was like, okay, I can't do that with my wrist injury.
Yeah, so hard.
It's really hard. So went and got lessons from a friend on CDJs, and the amount of stuff that you have to touch and turn, and particularly the jog wheels on the CDJs, I was just like, I can't be doing that on stage and in pain, like, if I want to give this a good shot. So I just tried to find the smallest controller that exists in the world, and it's called a Korg Chaos DJ pad, and it's this big, like that big, and it's touch sensitive jog wheels, so I tap it to just stop it and like realign it instead of having to go like this as well.
Really?
Yeah, and the middle is a Chaos pad. It's got 170 effects on it, and I'm not a big effects guy, but like some people could have a lot of fun with that. I actually just have it off because like I was
170
effects.
There was that many effects,
and it's touch sensitive, so like if you got a big old flanger if you want a big old flange, you can be like like, and you just turn it, and then you can like do crazy stuff.
DJ mixer that does that. I'm sure.
It's touch sensitive.
I see Carl Cox mucking around on it.
Yeah,
I've actually played on one, and it was like slightly terrifying. I was just like, okay, just where are the EQs? It's crazy. And like this thing, it's just got highs, mids, lows, it's just got everything I need in such a small thing. And so I didn't think when I started DJing that it would go the way it's gone at all. I was just trying to find another way to be creative without drawing. And I
I wanted to be a tattoo artist. So my husband, he's a tattoo artist. I'd seen him going through his apprenticeship, working so hard. And I was working full time to support him in his apprenticeship. He'd just gotten like pretty damn good at it. And so a friend and I opened up a tattoo studio, and I was ready to go into my own studio and be an apprentice tattooist and learn the trade and just like be around the art all the time. And that's when the wrist injury happened. So I was like in the middle of like this beautiful thing I'd created, like literally started the whole business from scratch with a friend of mine, and then couldn't use what I was going to do.
So it's obviously your wrist that you would have been.
Yeah. And so like then I went through a phase of, like trying to draw with your left hand. It's like, mate, I've been drawing with this for 28 years. I'm not just going to suddenly be able to do the same with my left. And like also with tattooing, you've got to like stretch the skin a lot. So with whatever hand I was using, I can't be drawing and redrawing something for a client and then also tattoo on someone's skin. Like I just, with the pain that starts to happen, like there's lots of things I can't do with it. So my first set I played was like an illegal park rave for a friend and I. It was on my birthday in 2018. And I went into Serato and was just like, I'm not going to watch YouTube tutorials. I'm just going to learn how it works for me. Because already, obviously, controller DJs are frowned upon, but so are DJs to other people. So depends on who you talk to. Yeah. But I had still that like, because I was also new to techno, I still had that hanging over me of just like, I'm not going to burst into the club and be new to this, like after coming from drum and bass and punk music, burst in the club with my controller on my shitty laptop and be like, hey, now I'm a DJ, let me in. So I really wanted to, pave my way properly and do it in a way that was like organic, which is really helpful because it's kind of how things have gone. Everything's just been really organic and slow and special, building up to where I am now. But yeah, that first set I'd organised to the millisecond. And to this day, big sets, I will write down all my notes and pre-plan my sets quite often. So my first, when I started DJing, I pre-planned because I was like, if I am playing to my friends at a park, I know what they like, and it's my birthday, I'm going to play whatever the fuck I want. Yeah. So that's how my career kind of started. It's like, well, I know what you want and I know what I want, so I'm just going to do that. And not in like a jerky way, but I always had a plan B. So when I started playing in clubs, I'd always have what I reckon is going to go down well. And, the best nights are when you hear something new, not what you expected. And so getting away with, back then, 132 was fast. So, I remember
when I started DJing, I'd be like, oh my God, like the classic song was like Sub-Zero by Ben Clock. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm playing it at 1:30.
Yeah, I know. Like, oops.
And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember I discovered Stranger to Stability, the Len Faki, like such a banger.
I've actually been playing it lately.
I didn't even know that people knew it was a song. It had been out for 10 years when I found it. And so here I am, new to techno, thinking I have found this gem. No one knows about this. This is amazing. And I try to work it into one of my sets because, you've got to build up to something that heavy back in 2018.
100%. It's a big room.
Absolutely. You're not just going to open with it. You might clear the room back then. Now everyone would be like, what's this piss poor?
Yeah. Why is it so
slow? No offense, Len Faki. Too slow. Where's the remix?
Yeah.
But yeah, I built a whole set around that one track, and I remember one of the second or third times I ever got to play at Revs, I built my whole set around being able to play Strange Stability at Revs, and that felt so naughty back then. Wow, I'm so and everyone knew the words, I knew what was happening. And later on I looked it up and I was like, shit, this song is 10 years old. No wonder everyone knows it, and it's a banger.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But so being new to everything was really nice too, because I've got no judgment over how old a song is, who made it, how many plays it's got, and it's a thing that's good and bad. I've got friends that are such purists, which is amazing. They know everything about the history of what they do, and I love that so much for them. But for me, coming into it as something that I guess made me feel capable through an injury, and something that was now my creative voice, all I was doing is trying to find comfort in the songs. Didn't matter whether I found that it was techno or whether it was fast or slow or cheesy. I just wanted to provide an experience that brought joy to people, because I'd been the receiver of so much joy on dance floors prior to that. Yeah. And being new to techno, I didn't know what the rules were. Yeah. And there's a lot of rules, apparently. And I didn't know what they were at the time, so I just did it my way, and I've just continued doing that ever since.
And I think that really shines through with particularly this is something I want to before we get to that, can we give us a run through of what we're drinking here? Yeah.
Well, today we've got a vodka mud shake, chocolate, and with a side of Up and Go, also chocolate, because this is for fun and this is because I'm slightly hungry. So I don't want to drink on an empty tummy, but I've already had dinner. This is kind of dessert. And if this isn't hitting the spot because they're pretty weak, I also have some Kraken spiced rum in a WISER flask.
Beautiful. Sponsored, our new sponsor.
Yes, our new sponsor, Chalky Milk and Flasks. Yeah, these are they're too good. And like if more clubs should stock these, hot tip everyone.
Yeah. I
would buy this for at least $14.50 at your club. Considering this whole thing was $20, it's a bargain.
Yeah.
Bargain for them.
Actually.
Yeah. People need it, sustenance.
Yeah, it is. But no, what I was going to say was, you spoke, it's such an interesting journey because you're probably like the first person that I've met that's, your journey's kind of come. And everyone's journey is different, right? But yours is like super unique in the way that you kind of discovered and fell in love with it. But the thing that really shines through, I think, when listening to your productions in particular and your music, is that you feel a lot of emotion, particularly within the music that you produce. Is that something that you really aim to do with your DJing and your production? Is like, do you try and visualize what sort of mood that's trying to create?
Yeah, so I always say that I play for I guess a feeling. Like I want to set a feeling, so when I'm running a party, it's about what the party feels like, not what it sounds like. So when I produce, it's also production for me has always been funny. I started a little bit later in my DJ career, and I first sat around a lot of friends that were producing, wanted to see what they used. I thought I was going to be one of those guys that had heaps of synths because I liked physically playing things, but once you have one, you think you want 10. So I was like, I'm just going to stick to plugins and do it all on my laptop, especially for accessibility reasons with my wrist. I can't just be constantly twiddling. So when I produce, I just make what comes out of me, so I don't really reference anything, and that means that it tends to be quite emotional and quite heavy and deep. And I've gone into Ableton sometimes being like, all right, I'm going to make this hard 150 club banger, and what comes out is this like piano thing, and I just, for a while I was like I know I can make club music for dancing, and the pandemic really helped me be like, all right, so I'm not looking at dance floors right now, but I still want to produce.
Yeah.
So I now have to produce for someone who's sitting in the house and wants to feel things. So everything, when I used to put sets together, I always like to chuck in a few tracks from nostalgia, and it's great that remixes is such a big thing right now because now I've got access to every song I've ever loved in the tempo that I needed. But before, it used to be, I used to have to live remix thing, and so I might put a song on that was nostalgic, made me feel a certain way. The emotion of that track, say it was like Born Sleepy or something, I would mix the original into a newer techno track just because I've got Serato. It's all really visual and it's in front of me, and I can just do a little 8-second sample and bring it in, bring it back out and create those moments. And so when I was pre-planning my sets more often, I'd always wait for a moment that I gave myself goosebumps at home. And if I've got goosebumps at home and I'm sitting in a very small house with terrible acoustics, listening to it on my laptop, someone, if I'm playing to 1 or 100 people, they're going to get goosebumps. And that was something that was really special to me. Is I think that music itself has so much power in it. It's healed me so much in so many ways, and being able to provide spaces where people can listen to music, whether I'm playing or providing the space by running the party. I think that having emotion and playing to people's emotions is one of the most powerful things you can do with it. And so with my productions, I don't mean for them to be emotional, but I think because of the way that I've started my music career, it's just getting more and more emotion-based. I'm releasing more and more things that I'm just like, look, this is what comes out of me, so this is what exists. Now it exists in the world, so this is what you can have. I'm not going to pretend and make something that isn't naturally coming out of me, because I don't have the physical bodily energy with my back issues and so on to sit even right now my back's hurting. We've been sitting here for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
I've tried so many good chairs. I have a pretty good chair, but I tried so many different ergonomic setups to just be I just want to be able to make music. But at the end of the day, I'm in pain 24/7 and have been now for 8 years. So if your brain's full of pain or stress or anger. It's cloudy. You're not thinking about oh, there's that melody. Like, you're not thinking about, what hi-hat to pick in Ableton. You're full. And so it doesn't matter I realized it didn't matter what fancy chair I was in or how beautiful the studio I was producing in. If I was going to be in pain all the time, the times that I'm producing have to be so short and sweet, and I just got to trust the process and not be fussing and unfortunately not be learning. Like, I wish I could sit and watch thousands of hours of YouTube and get all that info, keep that info in my head, and then like produce the quality that my friends do as well. Like, I think I know 5% of Ableton and I do my best with it. But like, being surrounded by so many talented people that also have shown me so many hot tips and tricks. Like, I'm really grateful to be able to get any songs out of Ableton and to even call myself a producer with how small amount of time I've been able to actually, hone that talent, I guess, or bother doing it around other pain stuff. So yeah.
And you've spoken about it a little bit there, and I think it's really important to address it all. I think I really want to dive into the injury itself, and particularly, you voiced some of the impact that it's had on you from an ability perspective, from a music perspective, but it's obviously had so much more than that. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on where that all started? I know it's been we can't cover 8 years worth of pain, but but I think it's important because it is quite a significant life change for you, and being able to cope with it, and it is, as you said, a day-to-day thing. Do you want to give us a bit of an understanding of how it all started and what you've had to go through from an exterior perspective and all the other bits and bobs that have come with it?
It's pretty wild. Like, I guess the preface to this is that I am very lucky to have had quite an excellent life leading up to the injury, and I haven't suffered too much in my life, and that has given me the tools mentally to be able to deal with it in the way that I do. My mind, luckily, is very kind to me and doesn't provide me with much anxiety, much stress, or much despair over the small things in life. So when I first injured my wrist, that was very new to me, not being capable of doing day-to-day tasks, always having to ask for help, and not being able to then do things that I'd been doing my whole life, having to let go of an idea of a life that I was going to have, was really big.
That would have been really tough.
Yeah, and I think like relearning how to literally move your hand. I still don't have full motion. Like, I can't fully bend it back each way now. Anyway, it means that like some days, like, I'll have a really good day and I'll go to cook dinner, and then you go to cut the chicken and you just can't use a knife. And the next day I can carry some shopping, 10-kilo bags. My physio's like, you got to keep using it, otherwise, it took me years to build the strength back in my arm because I hadn't used it for so long.
Yeah, of course.
And I've got to keep trying to do things with it and hurt and feel that pain and work through it so that I can build strength back up in my body. And then it was about a month before lockdown in 2020. My back just started randomly hurting, and prior to that, I'd been to pain specialists, pain psychologists for my wrist. So I'd learnt about how to manage pain, how to manage stress in the environment, what kind of painkillers to have, and just how to deal with pain in general. And so when my back started hurting, I was like, okay, this is strange. I hadn't done anything to it. It wasn't an accident. I hadn't stretched it too much or exercised too much. It just started hurting. It's like, oh, it's okay. Everyone gets back pain. It's so normal. It's fine. And then weeks went by and it got worse and worse. So I had a scan done and I had a bulging disc. And I've had friends that had a bulging disc. They just rested and did physio for 2 weeks. They're back to work. So I was like, how come, I've done all these things now, and this was at the beginning. I'd done 6 months of, really good strengthening, physio and whatever, and this bulging disc wasn't going anywhere. And I was like, that's annoying, but we're in lockdown. Life's not normal. I felt lucky that I hadn't been missing out on too much life, having that back injury during lockdown. And then things started to come back again, and you got to go meet up with people down at the park and have a picnic. And so I'm sitting at the park and I can't sit down I can't do anything. I can't stand for too long, can't sit for too long, can't lie down for too long. So you're sitting at the park and you haven't seen anyone in 9 months, and my pain sense is just firing. And it's not a 10 out of 10 at all. It's like a 4, it's just someone's just punched you. It's the after pain of being punched. constantly.
Yeah.
And it comes and goes worse between like a 2 and a 6 if like, I don't know, depends. Everyone's pain's different to describe that. I mean, but so you're just sitting there and your body's telling you to just fight or flight constantly. Like, just get up, move your body. Like, you can't stay here. And so you're trying to catch up with people for the first time in 9 months after the first section of lockdowns. And I really realised what my back injury was now going, like with my wrist, it's a different thing. It was skills that I was losing, but I still had mobility. Whereas when it's your back, like it's everything. It's your sitting, it's your standing, and like I can't.
Laying in bed?
Yeah. So laying in bed wasn't too bad until my neck started hurting. So so I'd been going to the gym and doing heaps of strengthening, really good stuff for my back. Went to all these pain specialists, had multiple injections. So it's not so bad that you can have like a surgery where it stabilizes the spine, because then you'd also lose mobility in the future. But I was getting nerve blocking injections, had an epidural, and tried all these different things. None of it had worked. So basically it's just like my options are endone, like really hectic tablets that I just don't want to take. They make my brain so muddy, and like I want to be present. I want to still have the brain that I have. Like, if I don't have the body that works, I still want my brain to be on. So I'm trying my best not to take I call my big tablets, but try my best not to have to be taking too many tablets. And then my neck started hurting, and I was just like, like it hurts for a bit. And then I'm like, all right, might have been a way I slept. You know, we're getting older. I was over 30 at the time. Like, let's talk about neck pain. Everyone's got neck pain. It's fine. And then 2 months goes down the track and I go to the doctor. So I've got a bulging disc in my back at this point in time, my wrist injury, and then the facet joints in my neck, the goop in between your facet joints in your neck, is kind of wearing away weirdly. And instead of being curved, my neck's starting to straighten. And like my family history, I'm like, anyone in the family got this? Like, anyone going to tell me anything about this? And like, it's kind of hard to get information from your grandparents, like, because everyone's got back pain and neck pain once you get older. And like they don't know how they felt when they were 30. Like,
exactly.
And so the neck pain was something that was so new. I'd been dealing really well. Like, I call my wrist and my back old friends. When my neck started hurting, I remember I was running a club night, and I'd spent the whole week basically just making myself feel good, had my big tablet, ate well, didn't do too much, just like really ready to run that night well. And I got to the club, my tablet wasn't working, my neck was aching so much I couldn't concentrate on anything, and I sat out in the back room and just bawled my eyes out, and I was just like, what do I even do? Like, and then I realized what it was doing, like, because my brain's kind to me, it doesn't have that like panic, ouch, like shit, get out of this situation. It's just like, oh, your neck hurts. Like, whereas like I could have, maybe not run the night that night or something if my brain was like, hey, your neck's really sore, you shouldn't do that. Or if I had more of a panic mode within me. But I like to be able to, I don't ever push myself too hard or anything. I thought to myself, I'd done all the resting, I'd done all the right things. And after that, I went to my doctor, and turns out I'd actually had a panic attack, like a full body nervous system panic attack, but without the brain part panicking, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. So like before I ended up crying at the back, I had really short of breath, like couldn't really speak. My chest was really tight, but then bumped into a friend and was able to string a sentence together, but then was just sitting down. My mouth was so dry. Like, I've never had a mouth this dry. And I'd always assumed, like, I've had like heat stroke before and that sort of thing, but I always assumed a panic attack is like your brain's going, like you're dying, or like, get out of there or whatever. This was my whole nervous system just being overwhelmed by the level of pain I was in, and also I guess by being in public, having to run an event and feeling, I guess, bad about, not being able to be present at the event, let alone, enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I went to my doctor, and she said, you'd had a full body panic attack, your nervous system's at capacity. And so from then on, it's just been about really making my life as cozy, comfortable, and as stress-free as possible. Yeah. So there's multiple things from my home life to my friend's life to how I show up online that I've had to change, because I can't be, like, say it's a volume dial, I can't be at capacity and also exist as a human. So if my body's going to have me already at capacity, what's this little gap I've got? I can a year ago, I was able to, with that little gap I was able to go for a swim and, do the groceries on a rest day. And then a big day would be I'd gone to go see a friend, and then I'm playing later that night. But I also really unluckily, I caught the, esoteric, how everyone got a bit of gastro this year. Yeah, so it was Shigella virus, and a really small amount of the population gets reactive arthritis from it.
No
So
way.
I have arthritis from the doof. And it was a great set. Like, I'm really glad I played. It was one of the best sets of my life. I played High Tech and Dark Side, like one of the first times I'd done that. Had some of my own productions in there. It was amazing, like amazing festival. Luckily copped it afterwards. Like the way they handled it was amazing. Like everyone that had gotten it prior to the festival being opened had been isolated in like air conditioned spaces. Like everything was clean. Everyone's washing their hands. Like it was really impressive.
Like at the actual festival during
just
that?
really hot because it was like 40 degrees or whatever,
yeah,
but
crazy.
visually, like people aren't walking around with gastro. Like it was just, it seemed really well handled because a lot of my friends were on the crew and they were all really well recovered, had been well fed. Like it seemed like they handled it to the best of their ability at a doof when it's 40 degrees and you've now got 10,000 people there.
Crazy.
It's
When I
so
heard that
crazy.
happening, I was just like, oh.
So crazy.
It's like dehydration. Like,
yeah.
This could be really, really
Yeah, especially
bad.
for young doofers as well, like that don't come with all the food they need or all the supplies they need or drink enough water over the weekend. Like, how are they going to protect themselves from this? And so I think out of 10,000, I only heard about, I'm not going to say the amount of cases because it makes it sound bad, but there was quite a few cases.
It's
and
very,
of course
very
it was going to happen. I
it's
think
very-
they contained it well.
Yeah, and it's very contagious, gastro. That's crazy. And then
So yeah, I got arthritis in my knees from the doof. And that, my friends, is where I draw the line. Like, it has been a fucking year.
yeah,
So,
crazy.
yeah, like, I've just come through a point now where it's like each day is good. If I can do some stuff in the day, good.
Yeah.
If I can do nothing, also good.
Nice.
That's where I'm at. I'm very lucky to have been approved for disability pension a year ago.
Yeah.
So that has freed up a lot of the guilt I felt. I had an amazing resume from working like retail. I was the state training manager for Cotton On Group. So I was training all their new managers coming in
cool.
and like managed my store and like loved working at Typo and all that stuff. Then owned a tattoo studio and then the tattoo studio closed down because of the pandemic. So I had a great resume. Can do fuck all of it because of my pains.
Yeah.
And even with DJing, like I went through a phase when I was new to it, like, oh, cool, I can take more than one show a night. Can't. Like 2 shows a weekend, also probably not a good idea.
Yeah,
so
100%.
even had to limit that. I also limit how long I play
Yeah,
for.
set times. I was just
Like,
thinking
yeah.
that, like, it's just, that'd be, oh, come on. You are kind to yourself because, that's so many setbacks over and over again. It'd be, really tough to deal with. And I'm sure you've had, some pretty dark times and been able to work through them. But,
Yeah.
something that if you're happy to speak about was obviously some of the stuff that was put out in the media and some of the things that
Yes.
were written about you by a certain newspaper. I don't know if can we name him?
Yeah, I can name him.
Fuck the Herald Sun.
Hi, Herald Sun. It's your girl.
Yeah. So, do you wanna, so there's a couple of layers to this one, and firstly, I just want to view it from my perspective of when I saw it. And so there's obviously the article has popped up, and I was like, WISER is in the paper for. I was initially just like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And
How is this a news story?
and Herald Sun, they obviously, you click on the fucking link and they're like, oh, you have to have a subscription. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm not paying for your shitty ass newspaper.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, why are they targeting and how have you gotten in
Yeah.
the media for this? So do you want to give us a bit of a
Oh, I
background
asked him
on-
to write that. That was like an opinion piece written by me. So with my wrist injury, basically, obviously, it's affected my life in many different ways. And I was sitting there in the middle of the pandemic. Obviously, everyone's starting to do craft. That first 3 months of the pandemic where everyone got
Yeah.
real crafty. And so I'm in my house, me and my husband. I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? And I'm looking around and I can do sweet fuck all because my wrist hurts. And I'm like, wow, I've got all the free time in the world. And I've got in front of me, I've got some DJ decks. I've got my old jewelry stuff. I've got some clay I could play with. I've got video games I could play. I can't even cook dinner. My wrist hurts. And then an ad for Slater and Gordon came up and was like, have you been injured at work? was like, yeah, I've been injured at work. So I called them and started a process which ended up being very long, pro bono. So, if I won, it was all paid through for that. And if I lost, which I did, then I obviously didn't owe any money. So it was like a lot of phone interviews, then, recalling my injury, which is also like, is as nice as my brain is to itself. Like, if you're going to talk for half an hour to a dude about start to finish how your injury happened, what the workplace was like when that injury happened, how it could have been better, and so on, your wrist is going to hurt more. Like, pain and mood and everything is so effective of each other. So you're already in a pandemic. You're already only allowed to leave the house an hour at a time, and during that time, putting so much focus on my wrist injury by trying to go through this court case, I was like, look, what else am I going to do? There's nothing else to do at the moment. Might as well just pursue this. And I was hoping to get perhaps some compensation for the fact that I haven't been able to work full-time ever since. I haven't been able to earn as much ever since. My resume is now useless and will continue to be. Had all my doctors, neurosurgeons, everyone sign off that my wrist is now going to hurt forever. My treatment had been stabilised. My physio signed me off and said, look, this is all we can do for you. That's as strong as you can lift. That's as hard as you can pull. This is your life now. And obviously then I can't go work 40 hours a week doing, computer typing, lifting, talking, cash handling. Like, can't do any of that. So I wanted some compensation and also to hold the business accountable in a way that could help train future people to treat their employees better, and also to put less stress on people so that they don't make silly decisions at peak periods of time that lead them to getting injured. And went through the whole court case, finally got a court date for it. Went into court on that date, and during the court case, it's all public, which is how the Herald Sun got wind of it, which is why I'm able to discuss it. It's a public document, apparently, because apparently heaps of people have read it. Hi, Melbourne Uni. And I'm glad I can get famous in other ways.
Yeah, exactly.
My lawyer at the time, when the article came out, I was like, is this defamation? She's like, look, they haven't said anything too bad. If anything, any press is good press. And I'm like, yeah, but they used my full name in it. And so I asked, how did they get a hold of my entire court document and why do they care? So it turns out during my court case, they asked me a few questions about DJing. They asked, for example, where I DJ. Quite often I do play at Revolver. Revolver is obviously an institution that's really well known. And they also showed videos of me DJing. Which they can clearly see. I use a setup that is like an eighth of the size of the normal setups.
Yeah.
That it's all touch sensitive right in front of me, super ergonomic. They got an affidavit from people that booked me saying, look, she says she can only play an hour and a half max because of her wrist injury. That was before her back even started hurting. And they just couldn't untangle the fact that my wrist hurt, but also my back now hurts. So is it really your back that's stopping you from getting a job, even though there was a good 2 years there that I tried to find work with my wrist injury and couldn't? So unfortunately, the judge decided, due to other factors, that I had lost my court case. One of the factors was that because I play at Revolver upstairs, I must be a pretty big deal. The reason why I seem like I'm a pretty big deal is because 2 weeks before my court case, Fred again decided to do a back-to-back with Sunshine. He just popped in there. I haven't listened to much Fred again. Then I saw a video of him doing all this live stuff, and I was like, what a wizard. Like, I wish I had that dexterity and ability. I wish anyone did. Yeah. But also the hype around him is insane. And, I'm happy for anyone that can generate that kind of hype with, 4 days' notice. Who sells, 40,000 tickets with 4 days' notice? I don't get it. Yeah. But he does. Yeah. And apparently I do too. So the judge decided, it's literally, I could show you, I wish I brought it with me. My pages of my 32-page court document telling me that I'd lost my court case, the first two things: Revolver upstairs is an institution well known in Victoria. Number 2, WISER is a well-known DJ that plays at Revolver, which hosts DJs such as Fred again. Because Fred again was listed in it, the Herald Sun picked up the court case, read through it, and decided I was a person of interest. And also, part of the reason I lost my court case was because if I also play at Revolver upstairs and play overseas, I must be just like Fred again. And clearly capable. Look at me flapping my arm around, mustn't hurt at all. Not like I'm on any painkillers right now. I was so angry. Oh. They showed videos during my court case of me holding, picture I'd posted of me holding a drink. This is a drink. This is me holding a drink. a picture of that and tried to use that against me. And I'm like, I didn't say I can't use my hand. Like,
what? So they're saying that you can hold a drink.
Yeah.
So your wrist is fine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They see me using a fan. I have slept for I don't know how many hours in a week, all the rest of the hours in a week, so that I can hold a fan during my 1 hour that I'm playing. And they said because I can use a fan, obviously my wrist doesn't hurt that much. And I'm like, dude, like I worked so hard to get the grip strength to hold a fan again. And you're going to use 3 seconds of obviously not fanning myself the whole DJ set because then I wouldn't be able to use my hands.
Yeah.
But like, so frustrating. So then I had just been actually looking up my website because I can never remember the order of the HTTPS ... you know.
Yeah.
So I typed WISER into Google and that came up and it was like, Stephanie Kerr, DJ, spun out of Revolver, dodgy risk claims. And some of the comments were like, real mean too. Like they painted it like I had written to the Herald Sun being like, my wrist hurts, now I can't DJ properly. And it's like, mate, like if they would have actually read the court book, which obviously they didn't read it properly, my wrist injury is how I started DJing. It is my silver lining. And I often joke that like I've given my right hand to have the life I have now. And I wouldn't say I'd do it all again because it's real painful, but like my wrist injury is how I got into DJing. If I never injured my wrist, I would have never have the life I have now. Would not be doing this interview, would not be doing European tours, would not be a tour agent for Thick as Thick. Like my life is amazing because of my wrist injury. Yeah. And the fact that I've been able to turn something shit into something good doesn't mean that I don't deserve compensation for it, god damn it. But here we are, I lost my case and the Herald Sun decided it was news. So yeah.
Absolutely.
That's where we're at. Look at me, an opening a bottle. Watch out, work safe. Like, I swear to God, it was a long 4 years. I was under surveillance, I don't do much anyway. Like, where are you going to follow me? I'm in my house the whole time. Like, are you looking in my house? Like, I'm glad it's over.
Me too. Me too. We got through. After a nice little break, we are back. Just, a few sips of water, bit of a back stretch, and we're back. And I really want to talk to you, obviously I touched on it in the introduction, about your recent tour around Europe and you played a number of shows there. How was that?
It was amazing. It's really, really lovely. I'd been to Europe, I've been to Berlin in particular. This is my 4th time and 2nd time playing. So it has taken a while to find my community there who I would like to play for and the sounds that I think would resonate there because it's very different over there to what I thought it was originally going to be like. But the tour was super lovely. I played 3 shows in Berlin, 1 in London and also 2 in Portugal as well. So it was really, really lovely and just super nice seeing how different dance floors in different places react to your music and meeting people that share the same passion as you on the other side of the world is always really exciting. Yeah,
it's amazing how you can just bond over music. You don't even have to speak the same language.
Yeah.
But like in a way, like music is the language between you guys.
Absolutely.
It's very beautiful in that sense. And how did you find the dance floors over there?
It depends on when you ask me that question. Because when I first went over there in 2018, I had only just been into techno for about a year. I'd been DJing for about 6 months and everyone had told me, you're going to love Berlin. Everyone's different, you're going to love the music. It's so heavy over there. And I was just so excited to go there. I'd been at a family wedding in Italy for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then, it was super nice to be over there for that. Got to hang out with my nonna, which was lovely. And then got to Berlin, was staying with some friends from Australia. Went to Sisyphus as the first club that I went to. And that was just unbelievable, amazing in terms of the way that, I guess, the club and the government trusts their people, the way clubs are built, you can climb over things, you can climb into things, everything's just on water where Aussies would just jump into it. You can't just have water just there. People are going to get in it. It's real different over there. So that was eye-opening.
So silly in that sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
If there's something to jump in or jump on or
it's
just someone's in it.
In Germany it's just you die. You're going to die. And people are okay, I take that risk. I'm an adult. I think that sense of freedom was really beautiful to see when I first got there, and so I was really excited to spend I think it was 11 days in Berlin and hear the music and see the clubs. And I went to Berghain for the first time, and the building's just unbelievable. Absolutely, it's just a spectacle.
It gives you goosebumps looking at it, and when you're walking up from I don't know which side of it you approach. Whether you walk straight up to it, or you see it in the distance,
so imposing what it's around as well. It's just nothing in car park.
Which walking back from or to at night, it can be pretty kind of scary.
Yeah.
And there's some muggings and things that happened in there. Sorry to put it down on them.
No, well, you've got to be safe when you're partying anywhere.
You do.
There's certain ways to not walk home from Berghain and other ways to walk home from Berghain for sure.
100%. But it is quite an imposing structure. It's
very much so. And inside it, always thinking about back-end logistics things. I'm like, how many staff? What's the cleanup at the end of the night? How is it so perfectly air-conditioned everywhere I stand? Where are the speakers? Why does it sound so good everywhere? It was just, for those reasons, incredible. Yeah. But musically, just I was just too invested in the building and the staff to really feel moved by the music. So for me, music that I enjoy in techno particularly needs to have this warmth, maybe melodies or a little vocal, bit of nostalgia, maybe some playfulness. This new kind of bouncy, fast stuff that's coming out, I really love because it's just so playful and silly. And what was there at the time, I think someone was playing live, it was quite just droning, constant, rhythmic. And I'm not someone who gets sucked in by hypnotic techno very easily. So it was amazing to see everyone's writhing, moving bodies all together, cool, and just people are naked. And it's just I was so impressed by that. But musically, downstairs, there was the sets go for really long. This was a Sunday night. This was an 8 hour. Yes, it was 8 hours, an 8 hour closing set on a Sunday night the first time I went. Could be DVS1, which I now like. So I don't know if it was him. But
Zach, if you're listening.
Yeah. I like you now. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just wasn't ready for it. And upstairs, disco's just not my thing. I think that sometimes for me, disco seems like music that people pretend to be happy to. And disco itself has so much joy, and the origins of it bring so much joy to so many people. But when I'm around it, I feel that the dance floor lacks, for me personally, this is my perception of it, it kind of lacks integrity. Right. Everyone's like, oh, it's summer, I'm happy, I've got nothing to worry about. Whereas dark techno, for example, it's winter. You processing and feeling and moving. And so downstairs was too hectic and upstairs was too happy for me. And my other friends didn't actually get let in on that first night. So I had some people I sort of knew, but I was kind of there alone and just wanted to make the most out of it. So stayed for way longer than I should have, which also at the time I hadn't had my back pains yet. So it's just my wrist. So not too bad in terms of length of party. I used to be able to party for a lot longer before all my other pains kicked in. But it slowly sucked. I realised that I wasn't talking to many people. I wasn't hugging many people. I was watching other people, little groups of people, say hi to each other and cuddle. And everyone speaks different languages. So there's also that disparity, I guess, when you first go overseas. You don't know in a club what language everyone's speaking. So in Australia, we literally make eye contact with someone with you don't even have to be wearing the same hat. You just make eye contact with someone and you smile and now you're besties. Yeah. Then you buy each other a drink. There's none of that I found when I first went to Europe, and it's all very serious. And I felt very shut off, very cold. And I realised I'd also put my own boundaries up. I was thinking of my mum, try and be safe and make sure this doesn't happen. And, feeling a bit lost because my friends weren't there, feeling a bit lost because the music wasn't grabbing me. And I think that really painted a picture of for me of how I felt about Berlin as a whole the first time I went. Yeah, sure. To me, it felt really cold and distant, and I just wanted to love it so much. I wanted to come home and tell everyone how amazing it was because I was a fresh DJ in Melbourne. I wanted to be Berlin was amazing, can't wait to play there. But I came home and the first place I went was to Revs on a Sunday. And I was literally just having a chat to someone just like this. And I found myself getting teary. And I was like, what's this feeling I'm having? And I realized it was because I hadn't actually just shit talked with someone in the whole 11 days I was there in a club environment, just being able to chat to someone about anything. I'm not chatting. I'm not only chatting, I'm not only not feeling the music and vibing with the music, I'm not vibing with anything. I was just dead inside when I got home. And it wasn't a sleep or anything. It was just how that place made me feel and my reaction to it. It met in the middle and was just cancelled me out as a like a warm, chatty person. It just brought me home as like a cold, empty thing, and Revs just filled it back up for me. Like literally that Sunday I felt alive again. I realised for music I don't need, it's not a sound, it's not a genre, and for parties it's not a place or a time or anything, it's community and connection. And going to Berlin, coming home and seeing like a home party, I guess, showed me, you know, the parties that I want to be part of in the future, how I want to perform in the future, and what I want to get out of Berlin next time I go there was community and connection. They're the things I'm looking for. So it's not this grand, like, love the buildings, love the clubs, love the spaces, love the length of DJ sets, love it all. But sometimes it's just not for me. I'm looking for community and connection, and those things are really hard to find in a foreign country, especially if you're only visiting for less than 2 weeks at a time.
For sure, exactly.
So, it was really, really eye-opening the first time I went there. But it did teach me a lot, absolutely.
What do you do when you're throwing these parties to ensure that it is community focused and creating like a safe space for these people?
It's really nice to hear that, like, and to have like my vision reflected like that back to me, because Days did start a few years back now, and I didn't know what it was going to grow into when I first started it. It actually came about because I was finding that there was nowhere to play as heavy as I wanted to. I found a 182 BPM System of a Down remix, and it's like hard style, then it goes into high tech, and I'm like, where am I going to play this? Like, I'm a DJ, I get booked for stuff, but there is nowhere that I can play this stupid 180 BPM song. I was like, I'm just going to start my own club and I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to let everyone do whatever they want. And the rules that I gave them was that you can play as hard, as hectic, as hypnotic, whatever you like, that you can't get away with in other clubs, as long as you make it moving both emotionally, that you move people, and also physically that you move people. So think about how you're going to curate a set. You're not just going to go banger, 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 here, here, here. You're going to make it a journey. And with that bio, that brief, giving it to people. The sets that came out of even just the first days when I ran it, it was just after one of the lockdowns. I was allowed maximum 64 people. And my favourite dance floor is honestly like 30 people. Just 30 people all in front of me, just like chatting, like with space to dance. That is one of my favourite size dance floors to play to. So one of the first things with Dazed is that I was always capping it. Like, I never wanted it to grow bigger than, say, 150 people. I was running it at the TOF. The reason behind that was that not many people were going to hard dance things at the TOF. You know, at the time there was Sub Club and Colour, and you know, the type of parties you're going to get there because you've been there before. I wanted people to create new memories and have new experiences when they come to Dazed. So I was holding at the TOF, and the TOF was really beautiful in how they welcomed Dazed and my ideas in. And it's, you know, really velvety. It's meant to be a jazz bar. It's physically a stage, velvet curtains. It's a very different club experience.
100%,
and for me as well, I found that with my, I guess, pain volume, it turns into sensory issues. I don't like things being too loud or too bright or too hot. So for my own personal comfort, I wanted to make Dazed comfortable for myself to what my needs were. So that means that Dazed, you know, it was loud and punchy and had a good sub running through the system, but it wasn't so loud you couldn't chat. The temperature was warm enough that if you had a coat, you could keep it on if you wanted to. And I also started creating smells for each Dazed. So I would like make a different smell for each party, so that perhaps like my Dazed in general was velvet. I wanted it to be like a taste and a texture and a smell kind of thing. So it was like, I think it was velvet, orange, cinnamon. And that was just like an idea behind making a smell, so that if you had a really good experience at Dazed and the music really moved you, and say you're having a hard time but you're at the bakery like 2 months later and you smell some orange, if that can somehow remind you of how you felt on the dance floor, you've got more of an impact on how the club night can affect people, like, for a prolonged period of time. And Dazed is quarterly, like, with the seasons. So as the seasons change and people's moods change and everything like that, I was running Dazed once every 3 months as well. So each season it was a different Dazed, a different smell, a different lineup. With the lineups, I was always making sure that they were quite diverse, having a range of people from different backgrounds, and also diverse in terms of community. Like, I would be at a park party and there's just like this super young person playing just the coolest bangers, and I'm like, who are you? And they show me their SoundCloud, and it's had like I think one of the people I booked had 32 followers or something. And I was like, I run a club, do you want to play? Like, and like, it's just me at 5 a.m, like seeing what they were doing to the dance floor. Yeah. I was like, I want that feeling in my club. And giving opportunities to people that didn't have to like cut it through the club scene, play these opening sets, do all this stuff to be able to get a DJ set that was worth playing. Like, days started at midnight, went till 5. It wasn't really an opening set. Go as hard as you want from the get-go. And that meant also that I could book people that, might not have had that club experience yet, or, had just been DJing in their bedroom. So it was really sweet getting messages from people being like, hey, my mate's really nervous. This is my mate. He's been DJing at our house parties for years. Like, do you reckon he could play at Days? I'm like, yeah. Like, come meet me. Come to the next Days. I want to make sure they're a good egg, You can play good music. You can also be a dickhead. So exactly. Come to my party. Don't be a dickhead, and I'll book you. Like, it's essentially my rules. Like I made the parties my rules.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the like sensory stuff. So after Days have been running for about 2 years, my lovely photographer friend came up to me at one stage, and we were overlooking the dance floor, and at this point there was probably about 60 people there, and he was like, I have not seen a dance floor in the whole of Naarm that has got so many neurodivergent people feeling so comfortable on it. And I was like, whoa. And like I really looked at my dance floor and I was like, man, like heaps of my friends are neurodivergent anyway, so they're bringing their friends that they're like, oh, this party's really fun, there's no strobes, I felt really safe there, you should come. And so as Days continued to grow, I realised what was my sensory issues due to my pain, to do with the temperature, the sound and stuff, made it really accessible for people that suffer with different things. And so the community became this real beautiful, really small, sweet thing. And I had to speak to the TOF about halfway through. I was like, look, I really don't want to over-promote it and put posters up everywhere and get different types of people in. Like, now that hard techno is popping off, people can hear this type of music in a few different venues now. I don't want to lose the beautiful small community I have, because we need to grow so that the venue can make money. So what they started doing was running bands before I ran Dazed. They'd have bands in, they'd make money on the bar, and then Dazed could run. And this is prior to where insurance costs and everything have gone up now. But they let me have Dazed, even if 50 people showed up, they'd still let me run until 5 a.m. and nurture that space. Sometimes at the end of Dazed, there was 8 people on the dance floor, and it was gabba, and it was just 8 people hard gabbering like they'd never had in their life. Like, I've had like just the most amazing conversations with people, and people of all ages and backgrounds and abilities being at Dazed. And that was just the biggest reflection of like, I want it to be an extension of me. And because I've come from, I've been partying for 15 years. I'm not an 18-year-old, but I'd like 18-year-olds to feel comfortable, but I also want 50-year-olds to feel comfortable at my parties too. Seeing that actually come to life over the last few years at Dazed has really been super special. And I think that sense of community, it just constantly gives back to you, like seeing people enjoy themselves, seeing people feel safe and comfortable, or have those big moving experiences where they feel healed, or they learn new music that they didn't think they were going to listen to, really continues to fuel the fire that helps me to continue to do these types of things.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions from that. That's like such an
There's a lot of stuff.
No, but there's a lot to unpack there, I think. And first one is, how do you go about creating a smell in the club?
Well, I learned the hard way. So I originally was buying essential oils. Yeah. And so I had a vanilla, a cinnamon, an orange, mint, and I would sit at home before the club and make a smell that I think I would like in a club. And I didn't want the smell to be overpowering. It's not like when you get into like an Uber, for example, and they've got too much air freshener. Yeah. It's just a club either smells like nothing or it smells like sweat. Yeah. And so I just wanted to smell a little bit more than nothing. Yeah. Just a little something. Yep. And so throughout the night, I would wear the smell myself. So as I was the club and running the night, I would put the smell on myself. And then periodically I would spritz it throughout the dance floor. And it would just be around like someone had sprayed a perfume. And it was water and essential oils. And then I was like getting really into it, and I was like, I'll make a rollerball of it and I can offer it to people as they come in, like, hey, like this is the smell of the evening. And became a joke with the door girls that I was becoming some perfumer, because by the third day she was like, oh my God, like your last smell, I've been wearing it, because I gifted it to the club. After each thing. I'm like, hey, I've got this smell now, it was just for tonight, but do you want it? So the door girls at the top ended up spritzing on themselves, using it all the time. And so it'd be like, what's the smell this month? And I come in and spritz this smell. And it was like, yay. And the essential oils I was getting were not, top of the range or anything.
They're
and
bloody expensive.
they're pretty expensive though. And I put them in a rollable. By the third day, I was like, fuck it, I'm making perfume using essential oils and some water. Rolled some on my friend and his arm welted up and it was like all red. And I was like, oh shit. Like allergies, like that's not accessible at all. Like giving people skin allergies, like I've gone too far with this. I'm not a perfumer, I'm a club runner. So from then I just ended up buying really nice, fun smelling like smells. And so sometimes it would be like once it was literally just Katy Perry perfume.
Nice.
But if you're going to smell that at the bakery in 6 months' time and be like, hey, that was a good club night, 100%. It still does the job.
Yep.
So I gave up my career as a perfumer because I was giving people allergies. But
Your heart was in it, though.
My heart was in it. And to this day, I still make Dazed smell just slightly better than nothing.
Yeah, that's great.
We definitely had to. I always say we for Dazed because it's me and me, but I always say we, so don't mind it. But it's just me, but it's community. But we really had to work hard at letting the venue and the Dazed community trust us to the point where we can open with someone playing pretty heavy. Yeah. But I'm also not I love curation. I'm not putting the industrial person first. I'm putting the someone's playing 140 BPM hypnotic. That's also not an opener, say, if you're playing at 161. But for Dazed, you can play hypnotic as your opener because that's or breakbeat, for example. You can have that kind of set or something real dubby because it's still hard and warm. But it's still not as heavy as what's going to happen. So it's also still lighter in comparison to the rest of the evening. Yeah. But I think part of that was from also when I first started playing techno, and I still to this day play some of it. It's like that 123 kind of Stefan Bodzny, real warm, like that big Moog synthesizer sounds. Yeah. I still love that kind of techno, and that's what I started out playing and would slip in way harder songs into sets because I couldn't find anywhere to play a whole set of that. So I'd play a couple real hard bangers in it and then get known for being a bit cheeky and like when I first played Breakfast Club, like played a little bit heavier than I should have, but still nice enough that people enjoyed it and didn't scare anyone away. And that kind of environment of trust where it's like they've trusted me with the booking. I would like to get booked again, but I do want to shock people a little bit, but I don't want to scare anyone away because I do think of the venue. I do think of like, are they going to make money at the bar if I lock people into the dance floor and they don't drink at all? Yeah. Like, are they going to make money at the bar if I send everyone home because I've just played industrial and it's too early for that? Like, so having a varied music taste in my own head that I enjoy also helped me, I guess, curate differently in club environments and think about, okay, what venue are we at? What are they going to enjoy as an opener as well? So I won't always curate like for Dazed if it's a solo Dazed party. Yeah. I'm pretty loosey-goosey with how I do it, who I book and that sort of thing. If I'm doing a collaboration or if it's in a venue that I haven't yet run a party in, I do play it safe the first couple of goes and I do build up their trust so that they know that, hey, like you're still going to get people through the door if we start this hard or... but I'm finding that now that hard techno is everywhere and that people are delivering it in all sorts of ways. There's people that have DJ'd for just a year. They play only hard techno and they've had the ability to play just hard techno. Sometimes there's a bit of carelessness in how it's delivered and it's just, song, punch, 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 and it's 8 hours of that. Yeah. And I find that the energy on a dance floor, the way people are consuming things, the way people treat a club is completely different these days to when it was actually, hey, opening set, building up, back down. I think that the format is different for everyone and for every community, for every venue, and that there's still so much joy in an opening set. It doesn't have to be slower, but it does have to be something that can, I guess, coat the space with like an energy of like, hey, what's to come? You don't give away all your secrets like on the first go. Rainbow doesn't open its main stage on the first night. It's kind of that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Beautifully summed up, actually.
Oh, thanks.
Nice. And something I want to talk to you about, and this is kind of a big full circle moment for you and your career and how it all started for you. And it's only really dawned on me, and like now when I'm about to ask this question, is that you first started, in the scene, in the music scene, in the hardcore scene, and like doing sort of like agent stuff. Now you've just recently, probably about a month ago or so, just started as a touring agent at Thick as Thieves.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty cool full circle moment.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
pretty wild. I still don't believe it. It's like the
that's
dream
sick.
job.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we'll move on to listener questions because there's a few.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. So
Cool. So, Thick as Thieves, as soon as I got into techno, they were the ones providing parties that had that warmth in the music selection. I could tell they had a lot of care for their patrons. They were never overselling any of the shows that I was at. They were really curated well. And the type of people that were there were people that I seemed to get along with in a party way and, always bumped into old friends at their things. And their tagline of raising the vibration, I was like, these are some people I'd like to play for one day. And I'd been DJing for 9 months when I first got booked to play for Thick as Thieves. I was supporting Kolsch, and the way it actually happened though is I just straight up emailed them. I saw that Kolsch was playing. I loved Kolsch's music. I put together a mix of music that would suit Kolsch, and is it called shooting your shot, shooting your shit? Was it shoot my shot?
Shooting your shot.
Yeah, okay. So it doesn't have the word shit in it.
Is when you
shoot
have
the
a
shit.
yarn with someone. Yeah,
oh, so that's how I get it confused.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I shoot.
Yeah,
what did I do?
You actually.
I shot my shit while shooting.
You shot the shit at the Thick as Thieves parties, and then you realised they were good, and then you shoot your shot.
And I shoot my shot
by going for the gig.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
so
they both work.
I think I'll just don't worry about it. I emailed them.
Yes.
And I just said, hey, love your parties, really love Kolsch. If there's any chance you'll have me, here's a guest mix. And they wrote back and they're, look, I'm sorry, we've already got the lineup sorted. There's just 2 supports. That's that. But look forward to having you down there. We'll put you on the door. And I was like, oh, that's really lovely. Thank you so much. Can't wait to go there. Then I got a message maybe 1 hour later, and I was like, wait. And I was like, what kind of why are you emails? And he goes, wait. And I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm like, actually, we've moved some things around. We'd love to have you open.
Amazing.
And I was just like, wow, I just asked for something and got it. And that's really cool. And at this point, I'd had my SoundCloud up for a while. When I first started DJing, I straight away came up with my logo, my DJ name, everything, a colour that associated with it, got press shots properly. I just wanted to look professional from the get-go because I like managing all that back-end stuff. So I found it easy to manage myself and continue to also be self-managed, which is pretty wild at this point. But at this time when I'd only been DJing for 9 months, probably played only 15 shows or something, to be given an opportunity like that, the reality of it on paper looks amazing. I'm opening for Kolsch and playing for Thick as Thieves. I had a checklist every year of stuff that I wanted to accomplish, and it was at XE. I'd always wanted to play at XE, always wanted to play for Thick as Thieves, wanted to support a big headliner. All 3 of those things got checked off at that moment. The actual reality of it was just me playing to my 3 best friends that came to support me because it's an opening set. And it was so beautiful. I really love what I put together there. For the last 15 minutes, people started to flood in a bit more. I recorded that set and sent it to Kolsch to say thanks, sent it to Thick as Thieves to say thanks, and just we're out in the car park and I saw, I think it was Mike there, and I was like, do I get a T-shirt now that I've played for you guys? Or do I have to do more stuff? And he was like, oh no, you've always been part of the family. And I was like, what? And I thought back and I was like, they really are the parties that I've been most aligned to in the first, formative times of me being a DJ. So after that, I'd been booked a few more times at Thick as Thieves things. And then Mike had been seeing the parties I've been throwing for days, and how I like to go to a lot of things. I like to see new parties, new artists, and find new things like that. And he came to me about 2 years ago to start Rascal, which is kind of Dazed and Thick as Thieves together.
We're back after a nice little break again, and we've come to the listener questions. And we had a few, which is nice. Had to sift through them. First one comes in from Josh Pickup, aka Pickup Josh, the amazing photographer here in Naarm. He said, how are you so bad and cute all at once?
Oh, that's really sweet.
And I said, that is a great question, will be answered. And he said, actually, though.
Okay. I would say it's probably because I've got to combat how soft I am on the inside by looking real hectic on the outside. Because I find that life's all about balance.
Yeah, nice.
And I can't be all la 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 and squishy and then also be squishy on the outside. I have to be tough. You know? So that's why everything's pointy.
Yeah.
And I have antennas.
Yeah.
That's why.
K10 asked, what is the origin of your DJ name?
Oh, so a bit of superhero origin stories is I used to do a bit of freestyle rap,
Nice.
and I had a MC name which was Staywise,
Ah.
and Staywise had come from my dad always saying "be good, if not, don't get caught,"
Yeah.
which I thought was great, and it's also great for partying. It's like do whatever you want, just don't be a dickhead kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when I was Staywise, I'd end up making stickers. I made some shirts for mates and stuff like that. My husband has Staywise across his knuckles, and so it was a bit of a thing. It's more of a community kind of thing. And so when I started DJing, I wanted a name that was a step up from that was just for me.
Yeah.
And that's where WISER came
Oh,
from.
cool.
Yeah.
That's a great origin. And
Yeah.
actually, this isn't a listener question, but this is someone that did tell me something that there probably isn't like a wall in like the country or countries that doesn't have a WISER sticker on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do a run of stickers every year,
Yeah.
and I like to hand them out to people after my shows so that people can look me up, or so that people have like a little souvenir from the party.
Yeah.
But I also like to stick them around, and the most recent run of them that I got, they're the eggshell like permanent type stickers. So now I get to put them up with all my favorite graffiti big boys, and they stay there.
Nice.
And so they're around. If I go
Yeah.
to like, if I'm like, oh, I've got to go to Fitzroy to pick up a thing, I'm like, oh, I haven't been to Fitzroy this year. I have to bring my stickers. Like,
It's
yeah.
so funny. I have Club Elevate stickers, which I actually need to get some more because I've run out. But have you been to Easy's Burger
yeah,
place?
yeah, on the trains.
Yeah. So obviously there's like quite a lot of stairs
Mm.
to walk up there, and massive sticker walls, like so many stickers. And I had my bum bag which had a couple of stickers in it, and I was like, okay, I want to put one on here, but like, how can I put it so that it'll get noticed? Like, at what position will it get noticed? Like there's not any space on any wall. Like there's thousands and thousands of stickers. And I was like, okay, so I'm walking up the stairs, and I'm like, at what point would someone get kind of tired that they like stop and look? And I got to like floor 6 or whatever, and I was like, I'm blowing a little bit here. I reckon this is the spot. And I put it there like eye level just as you come up the stairs, and didn't think much of it. And then like literally like, I don't know, 6 months later, my housemate comes home. He's like, oh yeah, I just saw your Club Elevate sticker at Easy's. I was like, was it on level 6? He's like, yeah, I was fucked. And I was like, yeah, nailed it.
That is perfect.
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
perfect sticker placement.
Yep. There's
I actually had my stickers confiscated like the second time I went to Berghain. They weren't permanent ones or anything, but I didn't know that inside there was no stickers. In Berlin, there's stickers everywhere. I didn't know inside Berghain that everyone really behaves themselves, and like, you know, the building's so clean for somewhere that could be so dirty.
Yeah.
I'm sure with the lights on it's a lot dirtier, but they pat you down, and I assume they're looking for weapons and whatever else. But yeah, patted down my pocket, had stickers in it. And, you know, the hectic German lady's like, what's this? I was like, stickers. She's like, And I was like, can I pick them up later? She's like, no. Just threw them in the bin. I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
R.I.P.
Yes.
Osky1 said, did your head tattoos hurt?
They did, but not as much as regular spots. So if anyone's ever had like their calves or inside of their elbows tattooed, I reckon those spots are worse because it's heaps of nerves. On your head, it's literally just like straight through skin onto bone. So that sounds horrible, but my eyes rattled a lot, and like it was painful, but I reckon there's worse parts of your body.
Okay.
I think for how cool it looks and that your hair just grows over it, like it's mum friendly, you know, you could get it done and then a week later not have head tattoos. And then you can have head tattoos again next time you shave your head.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good decision that you've only got to do once. So do it. Children, tattoo your heads.
Yolanda Knight said, do you ever have issues getting into venues with your tattoos?
Only in Queensland.
Yeah.
I
I was literally going to guess that.
Yeah, so when I first played in Queensland, the venue was amazing. It was Sub Rosa, and they had quite an alternative type of clientele, so it was fine to get into that particular place. But going for pre-drinks with some people, we weren't allowed into the venue because I had head tattoos. And the most recent time I went up there as well, went for pre-drinks before playing, just literally across the road. I was like, look, it's literally like my face and name is on the poster across the road. Like, I'm here to DJ. I'm just coming to your venue for a cocktail. And they're like, look, I'm sorry, like, it's the rules. And I'm like, I was there with like my friend's mum. Like, we're just a chill group of people. They're like, I'm so sorry, it's just the rules. And I'm like, I'm clearly not a bikie.
Yeah.
And then the guy that was next to me was like, but are you clearly not a bikie though? And I was looking what I was wearing, and I was like, well, you know, like, You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Queensland's also really funny because you can't get a shot. Like, I drink straight spiced rum, like, especially because when you're DJing, you don't want to drink a whole drink, so you're going to need to go to the loo.
Yeah.
So I just have a shot of rum halfway through my set. A friend brings it up. It's kind of like a bit of a routine.
Yeah.
And can't get a shot after like midnight or like even 11
Really?
p.m. I
Is
think
that a
up
thing?
there. Yeah, it's a thing up there. So you can't get a
What?
shot of alcohol. And some of the clubs get around it by pouring it onto ice. So I can have the shot on ice and they get around it by giving it to me like that. But you can have it as a mixed drink, but just no shots, even if you're the headliner. So
Nice.
very strange.
Okay.
But that and the head tattoos, very limited amount of places I can be in
That's
Queensland.
annoying.
But can also grow my hair over and trick them.
Yes.
So
Nice.
yes.
And the last one is from Miss Ellie Papp. Shout out Ellie. Did you find living/playing overseas necessary to become more successful here in Melbs?
I would say that what's in Melbourne makes it really hard for anyone to seem more successful than each other until they've gone to Europe. Because if you've got in your bio that you've played in Europe, you could have literally played at your friend's house party, but you still played in Berlin. On your bio, if you say, I have played in places such as Berlin, also Revs and my Aeon, and like no one's going to background check you probably. If you've gone to Europe a couple of years in a row and you've played at, just like the smallest venues, smallest bars, you've done anything you can to get your USB into something and played, you've still technically played in Berlin.
Yeah.
Putting that in your bio definitely changes how people perceive you in Australia, 100%. I've never lived overseas. I lived for 3 months in Italy with my grandma when I was 21, but I wasn't DJing back then. But the times I've gone to Europe, the first 2 times I was learning more, which did give more weight to my set curation and how I threw parties. The last 2 times I went, I've played multiple parties across Berlin and Portugal, and also playing in places like Tokyo and Japan and Taipei. I think that the more interesting and diverse places gives even more weight to your bio, and it might not change how often you're booked, but you can have a higher price as well.
Yep.
And I think that also what happens is in Australia, because it's so hard to get opportunities here, you get to a point where the best you can do is headline in interstate and play shows here for a bit more money. Because I manage myself, I don't want to price myself out of being able to play these new cute little parties. Like, my fee's always negotiable. I'll play for 3 people for this rave under a bridge. Like, just book me. Like, I'm so excited to play.
Yeah.
And I think that when you get to a level where you have played overseas, generally people are then managed by the big agencies. And those agencies also want their artists to be having such a stable income. They want them to be playing these larger parties, headlining or supporting big international acts, that either the person then has to charge quite a lot and can't play as much here, or they end up moving to Europe where those opportunities are endless. So
Yeah.
I think that definitely I had my first tour was basically all fully self-funded. I saved up for ages and had a small inheritance from my grandma. I also visited my grandma during it, and that then, even though I spent, $10K on being over in Europe for 5 weeks, being able to put my price up by even just $50 at home and having my bio that I'd played in these particular places really does add weight to you as an artist and also to how people perceive you here. And it's a shame, but it's just how it is in Australia. I mean, there's so much talent here. Every time I come back, I'm just like, I know that I need to, the more I'm here, the more parties I can run, the more opportunities I can give to people, so that we can kind of like elevate the sounds and like all the producers that we have here, so that, they can get noticed a bit more, even just within Australia, because at the moment it is really hard. There's so many new DJs, so many new crews, and unless you're doing things like going to Europe or getting signed by one of the big agencies, it's really hard to get those opportunities. So I think that the best thing I can do from those experiences overseas is come home and kind of use them here. Yeah.
Nicely answered.
Thank you.
Now it's on to the final segment, which is Ricky's Quickies.
Yes.
Just want quick fire questions from my end and quick fire answers from your end, if you can. So, first one is favourite club to DJ at locally.
I would say Revolver.
Nice.
I've played there 30-something times now, and it never gets any less special. Like, just, it's different every time. What I can get away with is different every time. That wasn't a very quick answer. Revs.
Nice.
Revs for Revs.
No, it's Revs for Revs. I actually played at Revs for the first time this year. It's great.
It's just such a good feeling.
Yeah,
like, it's just, there's nothing so special. Yeah.
First club you went to?
Ever. First club I ever went to would have been Rochester Castle in Brunswick. And I thought that you go to clubs to listen to the music that you like. So I wanted a club that played like the Smiths and the Cure and the Clash.
Nice.
and like Block Party and stuff.
Yeah, Block Party.
So yeah, I want to listen to Block Party in a club, and that's me, 18, at the Rochester Castle in Fitzroy. Yeah.
Best set you've seen live?
Best set I've ever seen live would have to be Otter, and that was at RSO in Berlin 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I went there just for her. My friend couldn't make it, so I was there by myself. I had white chocolate-covered Oreos, and I was just snacking and standing there. It was a 3-hour set, and the way that she put her set together, the diversity in the tracks was just unbelievable. Easily best set I've seen.
Nice. She loves playing a lot of local artists from here.
Oh, true.
Like so many of their tracks.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Always see them. Dream back to back.
Dream back to back. I actually have never bead to bead because of how I run my setup and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually have never done a back to back. Even just like was mucking around with friends' CDJs the other day at her house, and they're quite small ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are small enough that like, if I have enough painkillers, I could maybe be to be with you for at least 15 minutes. She's like, great, got to wait for those kick-ons. Like, watch out, big B2B. So, yeah, I actually haven't, and I never pictured doing it. I think, like, the way that I curate music, I can't picture being in anyone else's headspace enough for it to match.
Yeah.
Like, I love being in full control of, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I want full control of every feeling that I'm giving, and including the space. I also don't really like having people up on stage with me.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be in full control of all of the, whether it's spiritual or not, energy-wise, all the space around me. I want to be able to access the back wall and roll my back around. I want to put cream on my back. Don't need people over me. And I think in a B2B, I just wouldn't be able to mesh with someone musically enough because my taste is so wacky.
Yeah.
So there is no dream B2B, unfortunately, for me.
No, that's actually a sick answer.
Yeah.
I love that. 3 must-haves for you on a night out.
Up and go.
Yep.
My spiky ball.
Nice.
And this back cream that I have in my bag, and there's deep heat and it comes in a roll-on, but the hectic German version of it, it's got a picture of a horse on it. It's meant for horses. I think it's horse cream, but it's also got CBD in it, and it's a roll-on cream. So say your back's feeling really sore halfway through the party, you can put it on and it really helps like your body hurt less.
Okay.
And yeah, those 3 things really get me through a night. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cat or dog person?
Both, actually. I've always thought I was more of a cat person, but I think I had cats due to my situation. A year ago, I got my beautiful Delilah. She's an English bulldog. If she's watching, hi, Delilah. She will watch this. I will show it to her. It's actually 1 year today since I got her, and she's just the best.
I did see that Instagram post.
Yeah. Oh, I love her
Shout
so
out
much.
Delilah.
Yeah, I love you, Delilah. I also love my cats too, like if you guys are watching.
Would you rather teleport or fly?
I would rather teleport. Flying would probably hurt my back. It's an accessibility thing. If I just teleport from here, flying's like, got to get up there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Fair enough. Produce or DJ for the rest of your life?
I would say DJ because it's really quick. It's like I play the song, you feel good. I see you feel good. I feel good. Production's like, that sounds all right. Do I feel good? Yeah, it sounds all right. And then maybe I'll play it. And then you're like, did that go over there like this? That's mine. This is my song. Like, it's a lot quicker to like get the joy back if you're just DJing. Yeah. I'm always like, if I put one of my own tracks in, because it's so rare that I make something heavy enough that I can play. Because when I produce, I feel like I'm a different person than when I DJ. It's always a lot lighter and softer. So if I can put a track of my own in, I'm always like, I'm like, oh, stop it. Like,
oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's hard not to, right?
Yeah. That's why I want someone to know.
Yeah. Last meal on earth, what is it?
Oh, probably my nonna's roast veg. She just does this thing with the potatoes and like a bit of water and a bit of tomatoes, like real Italian with like it's like a chicken roast veg and it's just so good. So that would be it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Home cooked meal.
Yeah, maybe some focaccia too, 'cause she does a really good focaccia. Yeah.
Favorite local restaurant?
Favorite local restaurant? Wow. I don't eat out very much, but I would say probably, that's a hard one for me. I would probably say the local in Port Melbourne because it's where it's just called the local and they just make a really good parma and they've got this salt on their chips that's like kind of limey and kind of chicken salty with herbs. It's just really good. I've been going there for I've lived in Port Melbourne for 13 years, so
Wow.
I've been going to the pub for 13 years.
It really is your local.
Yeah, it's really my local, and they make a great Palmer.
Biggest fear?
Biggest fear is probably losing my parents. So I'm really close to both my parents, and everything I do, I always want to make them really proud. And I just really hate the day that I lose them. And obviously, I don't want to go before them because that would hurt them so much. So it's like, I just fear the disconnect of any of us being on the planet at the same time is going to really suck.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset. I also don't really like the sun very much. So if it's going, I'm pretty happy. Like sunrise is like, oh shit, a whole day of this. Like, I'm just not into it. It's not one of the things I enjoy in life.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Would you rather speak any language in the world or speak to animals?
Probably. I'd like to speak to animals. I was thinking the language thing because it'd be fun to like be in a restaurant and overhear what everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
And like to bridge that language barrier I was talking about in clubs and stuff,
Yeah,
and be like, oh, I can make a funny joke to you because I speak the language.
Yeah.
Don't know what language that was. Apologies to anyone, but I would say probably speak to animals because like I would really like to know what my dog's thinking all the time.
Yeah.
If she has thoughts. Yeah. She's just like, bless her.
If you were to write a book, what would it be about?
My husband and I have a joke. The book is called Vacuuming Before People Come Over. And sometimes there's new chapters in our life. Like we've got a crayfish, so we've been going through got a crayfish. Her name's Lady. Shout out Lady if you're watching. She's really cool. She's blue. She's got big pincers, and then she's got these inner pincers. She's just really cool. We've had her for a few years, and so we've just got really into aquariums for a bit. And so like we've been joking that the next chapter was aquariums, and I do have a book in my life. It's called Vacuuming Before People Come Over.
Nice.
And it's generally just about life and the things that you do that kind of are pretty boring, but it makes your life kind of better.
Yeah.
But it's for a different purpose usually.
That's such a great name for a book.
Yeah.
It's so good. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank you.
You need to write that.
I can't be bothered.
Yeah, true.
It'd be very long and boring. It's about housework.
No, not at all. It's your last set ever. What do you close with?
Deep Forest Sweet Lullaby. Do you know? It's not techno. It's that song. I'm going to do a terrible rendition of it right now, but it's da 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 da.
I don't think
if you're really good with editing, can we like put it over this bit?
Yeah. I'm not good at editing, but I can do that.
Can you play it? Yeah. Deep Forest Sweet Lullaby.
Yes. This
is this where it is?
This is it.
Is it in the room with us now?
Yeah. This is. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
this is a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And
it's a very special track.
Fading out. Nice.
Yeah, it's a good song. Told ya.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I would, I might close with that too.
Yes. People sometimes, I don't know if you'd make people fall asleep, but if it was my last set ever, I wouldn't care anyway.
Yeah.
It's a really relaxing, beautiful song. So,
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good one to finish with.
And that wraps the chat up. Steph/WISER. I don't know what to call you. But
that's fine. Both are good.
Yeah, that was seriously one of my favourite chats, and so thankful and grateful that you're able to make the time to come in here in the studio and chat to me and us, all our listeners, about your amazing journey and everything that you've been able to do from a community mindset, especially working through the hardships. And I've definitely myself taken a lot out of this chat and particularly your outlook on life. I love it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's been really nice to have a chat about everything, and it's a good reminder of, I guess, where I'm at in my career and, I guess what I've been able to do. Sometimes I forget that if I'm just living day to day through, the pain or the goodness, it's sometimes hard to look at, what's in the past and what's in the future. So this has been really lovely.
Beautiful. And good luck this weekend.
Oh, thank you.
We actually didn't talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I'm playing in the Gold Coast.
Yeah. Everyone get there. It's great.
Yeah. Fly to the Gold Coast just to see me in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, beautiful. No, all the best and see you soon.
Thank you so much.